the special drawing rights is that I guess the IMF is being recommended to oversee the entire central banking system of the world. Everything, every transaction, everything that happens financially. And I was wondering where you're at with that, because that's deeply disconcerting to me, and I'm sure to others across the world.
It certainly should be disconcerting, that's sure. I mean, your point about it can be changed at will is very valid. Investment want to have some idea of what they're investing in. You want to know what it's going to be in 3 years. You want stability. You want transparency. You want something that you know what you've got. The other criticism, of course, is that it's all of these currencies run by the IMF. Well, the IMF has never been right about anything. It's astonishing if you go back and look at IMF history since it was founded. And by the way, it was founded for a specific reason after the Second World War. But since then, that reason no longer exists. And so the IMF over the years has totally changed its mission because, after all, they all wanted to keep their jobs. So they came up with other things that they could do. And it is mind-boggling to see how totally wrong the IMF has been repeatedly in the past 50 or 60 years. You know, several thousand people who work there. They have unbelievably good pay packages. They have a great pension plan. It is staggering how well they take care of themselves. But if you go around the world and look at what they've done, you would be appalled. Go around the world, which I did, but you can get out to their annual report for 1997, or pick any year and see what they said, and then look to see what happened over the next few years. And you're staggered that they even bothered to print the annual report. It turned out to be so wrong. So there are many reasons that special drawing rights probably will not work. It could work, but not with the IMF running it, and not the way the concept is portrayed right now.
Also, in lending money to nations, I'm sure you are very well familiar with the IMF lending special drawing rights to nations and then coming in and taking over all their minerals, all their agriculture, all their mining, everything when they can't pay them back. And of course, they know that when they're lending that they can't pay them back. So I think that that's even more evidence how serious and important commodities are. The fact that the IMF would indebt other nations, knowing they're going bankrupt, knowing they're going into spiraling exponential debt, but then go in for the kill to take the commodities, the minerals, metals, whatever they can get in terms of real things.
As far as I'm concerned, the IMF should be abolished. The world would be better off without the IMF. But and I've explained why.
One of the other things you talked about was the very big concern about the fact that the supply in minerals like zinc and aluminum and other things often takes 10 years to bring to market, and there's shorter and shorter supplies. Can you explain that to audiences, what you're finding, what your research has been in your experience?
Once someone opens a mine and starts mining, the reserves start declining that day because, you're digging the reserves out of the earth. And all mines have a certain lifespan. Eventually, you dug all the tin out, or you dug all the lead out, whatever it happens to be. And so the mine is depleted, closed up, and abandoned. There are plenty of mines all over the world and have been for thousands of years. Then, if you do want to open a new mine, you have to raise money, you have to get approvals, you have to do 100 things. And on average, any mining company can tell you this, on average in the world today, it takes 10 years to bring a new mine on stream. Some countries it's worse, the U.S. is worse with the environmental and any other regulations. In China, it's shorter, depends on the country. But on average, it takes 10 years to bring a new mine on stream. In the meantime, all the other mines in the world are being depleted because by nature of the beast. If you have a copper mine, it's not sitting there making copper. There's only so much copper in that in that deposit, and once it's all mine, that's the end of the story. So all mines are depleted while we're sitting around wondering if and when new mines will come on stream.
What do you think would expedite the ability to A, locate mines, locate the minerals in the mines, or whatever it is that we are mining for, and shorten the time span? Is it better technology to locate it and to find it and extract it?
Well, the main thing that's needed for more discovery is more money, because much of the world has been explored. Not my no stretch is nearly all of the world, but at least a lot of the world has already been explored, looking for mineral deposits. So what is necessary is a lot more money now if you want to increase exploration. But of course, people don't want to put more money into exploration, because unless you find something very big, you're going to lose 100% of your money. So, and these days, not much money going into exploration. New mines. But even then, if you discover it, it's going to take a long time. I guess if you discovered it, you could please fewer regulations, fewer requirements, and not make it so difficult. Once upon a time, it didn't take 10 years to bring a mine on stream. But those regulations have grown up over the years, so now it's very difficult to bring on a mine in most parts of the world. That would have to change too.
I did an interview the other night with Paul Smith, who was part of the Special Forces, and he was one of the early adapters of something called remote viewing, which the NSA had funded a $50 million investment into this very, what you and I and others would consider an esoteric kind of parapsychic project, where they actually discovered a methodology accessing data. They could locate anything, transcending time and space, literally locate anything. They found out that all matter is still recognizable, locatable, alive, from conversation to the descriptions of where things are located, way beyond clairvoyance. They use this methodology called remote viewing. And I'm just wondering if the mindset that you brought in that allowed you to become receptive to the world of things, and the mindset in you that became open to where people weren't looking, I have a feeling that one of the ways to quicken the exploration and discovery time frame is to use new methods for discovery that are proven, verifiable, and that work. And of course, it's off the track, it's off the grid of human thinking, but who cares? If NSA has used it and tried it and funded it, and it's working and can be taught and transferred, teams of people can be put in place to be looking for commodities, for minerals, for mines, and would save a ton of time and money, so that investors weren't really betting in an area and having to wait 10 years to see if there's something there. Something to ponder. Pretty wild, isn't it?
It works. Of course, it's going to change the world. It's going to make somebody extremely rich.
It's already here.
If it works. And
it totally works.
But even then, I beg your pardon?
It not only totally works, it works in real time.
Well, wait a minute. If it works, why don't they tell us where the oil is? Why don't they tell us where the gold is?
You absolutely can. By the way, there's other methods, but this is a very serious protocol that's used. It's kind of like controlled clairvoyance, but you should maybe, at your leisure, when you're doing your workouts, listen to that interview with Paul Smith, because he'll tell you literally what they do. You can go back in time, and you can also be in real time. The biggest problem with bringing in new knowledge and discovery is dealing with other people's mindsets, as you well know. It's worse in science. It's horrible in academia when you're bringing in new knowledge, particularly in the realm of exploration and discovery. I interviewed a guy named Bill Cox, who is a dowser, who was the person, he's now, I think, almost 90,